think I can speak for all of us that we never thought this day would come. We always thought Patty would live to be 100. I did. I'm going to speak about my remarkable friend. It's going to take a while, so bear with me, and hopefully I can get through this. Patty was my best friend for 55 years. We first met in first grade at Ursuline Academy. We were attracted to each other, we were tomboys, we were inseparable. We even thought alike. I remember in fourth grade, the Ursuline nuns gave us a project, and that was to write to pen pals. And they gave us a list of other Catholic schools to write to pen pals. Well, Patty and I said, now, we're going to write to men in prison. We didn't have any addresses, we only knew of 2 prisons, and that was Sing Sing and Alcatraz. So we put a stamp on the envelope, Sing Sing USA, Alcatraz USA. Of course, we didn't get a response. We didn't even put a return address, I don't think. But we got a response out of the Ursuline nuns. So this was the start of Patty and my main goal in life was to torment nuns. Off we were sent to Stone Ridge for middle and upper school. Patty and I were really excited about this because we had a whole new crop of nuns to torment. It was also there that we met our third partner in crime, and that was Colleen Boland. Now, we realized that we were at school to learn something, but really the main objective of us being there, we thought, was to see how close we could push these nuns to the edge. And I think we did a great job. I know a lot of my classmates are here. And to say that the class of '68 was a rowdy group is putting it mildly. By the grace of God, we did graduate from high school. Went off to college. Patty and I met our future husbands in college. 2 guys that were madly in love with us. 2 guys that really didn't care that we never ever listened to them. So we graduated, got married, had children, bought houses. We vacationed together. Colleen and Patty would always come to my house in Martha's Vineyard. It was a tradition every summer. And I have fond memories of my husband with Colleen and Patty on the porch every cocktail hour, just laughing hysterically. The 3 of them loved each other. Life was good. Life was great. But as we all know, life isn't perfect. That's why we're here today. On November 12th of 2000, I lost my husband. He was only 51 years old, a senior partner at the firm of Goldman Sachs. A brilliant life cut short by a brain aneurysm. One of the first persons I called that morning, it was a Sunday morning, was Patty. When I told her the news, she broke down. I said, look, Patty, you got to do me a really big favor. You're going to have to get dressed, drive over to Georgetown University. You're going to have to go to the freshman dorm and wake up my son, Mike Jr., and get him on the next shuttle back to New York. Don't tell the boy that his father had died. Just tell him that he was very sick. And Patty did that. Mike Jr. walked through our front door in Connecticut. And 1 hour later, Patty walked through my front door. Little did I know that once she put Mike Jr. on that shuttle, she was on the shuttle right behind it. She stayed with me for weeks on end. Colleen came up. They dressed me, they fed me, I was a mess. Patty came up, spent most of December with me, and went shopping for Christmas presents for my sons. I couldn't do that. So finally I got stronger with the help of many people, but mostly because of Patty. I assumed some board positions that my husband had held at the time of his death, and one of them was a trustee of Georgetown University. So I knew it was going to be down in D.C. And I said, well, I'll buy a house in Georgetown. And Patty goes, that's a great idea. So Colleen and Patty, they picked out my house. They were at the lawyers for the closing of the house. They helped decorate the house with me. And I started to get some sense of what I'm doing with my life. Patty was right there for me every day. She went to every event at Georgetown, every dinner, every trip. In fact, I had a board meeting in Rome. She was my spouse, quote unquote, to go to Rome, Las Vegas. She even went to the White House with me. I had a lot of events there, even though she was a Republican. There was a Democratic. She was with me day in and day out. And we started looking at each other and we thought, oh my God, we're starting to look like Oprah and Gail. Occasionally Jeff would show up at some of these functions and dispel any rumors. And, you know, right when you think you're getting a semblance of order in life, darn if something else just comes up and just whacks you. In the summer of '06, we lost our dear, dear friend Colleen to breast cancer. For 2 years, Patty and I helped her with her treatments. Patty more so, she did Colleen's bills. We were really involved in trying to help Colleen. We were also there when Colleen passed. We were up in her childhood bedroom up in Rockville, Patty on one side of the bed, I on the other side of the bed. It wasn't an easy death for Colleen, but of course there's no easy death anywhere. And it traumatized Patty and I, and you know, we kept saying, God, what's going on? You know, first Mike, now Colleen, it's not a natural order of things, what's going on? So we looked at each other and we vowed to go on with life, and we did. We had weddings, we had graduations, and we had, of course, Jeff's new construction project that Patty was very excited about. It took him maybe 4 years, but Patty, in 4 years, she and I, we went and we purchased things for this new room. She was so excited. She just had a great time. Life was good. It was good. But darn, if it wasn't this time, this last year, right about this time, I get this phone call from Patty. And if anybody knows Patty, Patty never said hello. She always said, hey you, always on the phone, hey you. And I said, yeah. And she goes, I got to talk to you about something. And I said, okay. And she's there. You remember when Colleen had that pain in her back and then finally got her to go to the doctors? And they diagnosed her cancer. And I go, yeah. And I could sense something in her voice. She said, well, I have this pain in my back and it's pretty bad and it's getting me up at night. And I said, you know, as everybody here today, Patty was just a picture of health and, you know, energy and vitality. And I said, look, it's probably a muscle pull, you know, it's nothing. Well, nothing turned into something, and it turned into something vile, it turned into something really bad. And each month I watched my friend get sicker and sicker. And I remember flying up for the day of her surgery at Georgetown Hospital. It was April 5th. It wasn't a successful surgery, but we had the surgery, and Patty was in the hospital for a week. And for 3 nights I slept outside my friend's hospital room, just to be sure she was getting her pain medication every 4 hours. I had 2 chairs just pushed together. It wasn't comfortable, but I did it. I had to do it. And finally, the nurses felt pity for me and put a bed in Patty's room the 4th night. And I remember lying side by side next to my dear, dear friend. And she goes, hey you, are you up? And I go, yeah, it's the middle of the night. So we talked, and I said, Patty, are you scared? And Patty said, Gina, you know, it is what it is. What I'm really scared about is what this disease is going to do to my family. And my admiration for my dear, dear friend just went higher and higher. Not once did Patty ever pity herself. Not once did she ever blame anybody. She took this disease by the horns. She took every treatment. She tried to fight this thing, but this thing was stronger, obviously. She had, her last trip to Martha's Vineyard was the last week of June. She came up with Jeff. And she had made quite a few friends up in Martha's Vineyard, and they all came by, one by one, to say goodbye. And I remember looking over at my dear, dear friend, and she was asleep. She slept most of the time up there, and my heart just ached because I knew she was never going to be with me again in Martha's Vineyard, and I knew I was losing my best friend. And I was with her the first week of December. I was down in Virginia for about 3 days, and I was rubbing her feet. Her feet really hurt her towards the end. And Patty put her hands on my hands, and I thought I was rubbing her feet too hard. But I wasn't. She looked at me and she goes, "I'm ready to go." And I said, "Patty, I know you are." And she's there, "But I don't know what's taking so long." Patty had a sense of humor right up to the end, because I said, "Well, you know, Patty, you ran every day, you worked out, your heart is strong." And she says, "Well, a lot of good that exercise did for me." She also said she had a great life, she has no regrets, she did everything she ever wanted to do. She loved her family, she loved her friends, she loved to travel, she loved her home. Patty loved life, and she lived life. So Stephen, Cassie, and Chris, you know, people say it's not how long you live, it's how you live. And Patty, she lived life to the fullest. I know, I was there for most of it, but she did everything she ever wanted to. And I remember in the hospital when she said she was worried what this disease was going to do to her family. You're going to have to grieve for your mom, but you're going to have to go on with your life, and you're going to have as much fun as your mom had in life. Your mom and dad didn't work this hard for you not to have a good life. And Jeff, what can I say? I've been down this road. It's a tough road. Your soulmate, your partner, has been ripped from you. You think you have this path that you're going to take in life, and your spouse is going to be with you. But life throws you some pretty bad curves. So you have to be strong for yourself, and you have to be strong for your family. I tell people I gave my husband 2 gifts. My first gifts, of course, were my 2 sons, Mike Jr. and Matt. But my second gift was that I didn't die before him. Because we know they're in a better place, but we're sort of left in a really bad place for a while. We're left to pick up the pieces. And these pieces can be really sharp, and they can hurt. And we're stuck to put our pieces back in order to have a normal life. Patty also said, "You know, I want to go, but I'm not going anywhere." And I looked at her, and she goes, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be right here." She pointed, we were in the family room. She pointed to her office, she pointed to the deck. "I'm going to be right here." And I knew what she was saying. When my husband died, somebody sent me something that I think sums up what Patty was trying to say. And it brought me some comfort. And some people in this church might know or have heard of this piece. "Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you for an interval, somewhere very near, just round the corner, all is well. Of course, Patty will always be with us. There is only one Patty. But dear friend, we miss you terribly. It's really hard for us right now, but we'll try to be as strong as you were. I know you're up there with Mike and Colleen, having those margaritas. So I'm asking but one thing of you. Just keep that party going. Goodbye, dear friends. Sleep well. God bless.